One of the biggest frustrations I hear from clinic owners all the time is that, hey, I have a great treatment, our patients love the results, but we can't get more patients. They're running ads on Facebook, they're running ads on Google, their website looks fantastic, they keep up with their social media, but people just aren't either inquiring or starting their treatment. The hard truth is that clinical effectiveness alone does not create demand. So in this video, I'm going to break down how your patients are making decisions, what's causing them to make those decisions based on the market shifts, and finally, how you can optimize your clinical processes in order to make sure that more people are starting treatments. If you're new here, my name is Laukik. I am the CEO and owner of LXP Digital, and we work with clinics to help optimize their patient acquisition systems. Hit that like and subscribe button because I create videos every single week to educate clinic owners, managers, and directors on how to improve their marketing and sales processes. So let's talk about how patients actually make decisions. You might have the most evidence-based, clinically superior treatment in your market. Your outcomes might be incredible, your patients are raving about the results. But patients don't actually walk around knowing which clinical treatments are actually superior. They just know what they've heard of. Let me show you something from ZocDoc's report from 2024, what patients want. So take a look at this. Providers that had 50 plus reviews received 10 times more bookings, and providers that had 100 plus reviews received 27 times more bookings. But here's what's really interesting. Potential patients are looking at provider profiles to make informed decisions. They're looking at office photos, they're looking at languages spoken, and obviously the reviews as well before making a decision. They're not just concerned with clinical credentials or treatment efficacy. So think about what this means. These potential patients are essentially evaluating if they trust you, if they understand what you're offering, and if you are going to be the right person for them. And this is the gap that kills a lot of clinics because you are operating at a clinical level where your potential patients are operating at an understanding and trust level. And this just isn't about reviews. Look at this broader research from PwC that talks about how people are making decisions based on their healthcare in 2025. Consumers want preventative care, personalized care, and digital-first access. It's the younger generation that's actually making the shift in the market because they are the ones who are choosing when and where the care takes place. We see here that 40% of Gen Z use virtual visits, 42% of millennials use virtual visits, versus only 20% of the boomer generation. The report goes on to say that consumers are expecting the same level of transparency and convenience that they are experiencing with other industries. They want to know what things cost, they want to understand their options, and they want to be able to book online. Essentially, they want to feel like they're in control. And here's the critical part. Over $1 trillion over the next decade is supposed to go towards these super consumers who are more proactive in their healthcare. But it's not about patients just comparing clinics. It's about the fact that they want their entire healthcare experience to be the same as the experience that they get from other consumer services. And if your clinic doesn't feel easy, transparent, and trustworthy as booking a restaurant reservation or buying something on Amazon, you are already behind. Remember, in healthcare, people don't always just buy innovation. They buy understanding. Now, the shift in patient behavior becomes even more important when we talk about specialized treatments that are often self-pay. Self-pay is a massive trend that is changing how patients evaluate healthcare and clinics. According to recent research, one of the most significant drivers of the cash pay model is its commitment to transparency, especially when it comes to cost. It's unlike traditional insurance routes where patients might not know the cost until that bill actually comes in. The article also explains that the cash pay model is actually more affordable and is better for people who have high deductible insurances. And the key part is this transparency enables these patients to gain more trust in your clinic and also make informed decisions. So why is this cash pay model actually growing? Well, there are three main reasons for this. The first one is high deductible insurance plans are becoming the norm. Patients are already paying thousands out of pocket, so it's essentially self-pay anyways. The second thing is patients are tired of opaque pricing. They want to know what something costs before they actually commit to it. And the cash pay model gives them that certainty. And these specialists that are offering these cash pay models are attracting patients by giving them upfront costs on procedures, consultations, and follow-ups. So what does this mean for your clinic? If someone is paying out of pocket, and for specialized treatments, it could be thousands of dollars, they're not just evaluating clinical effectiveness. They're evaluating if they understand you, if they trust you, and if they think that you are going to be the right person for them. You see that there's a theme that's evolving here. If your potential patients don't understand when your treatment is appropriate, who it's for, and why it's better than something that they've tried before, they are going to default to something that is a little bit more familiar. That's why someone might choose a less effective treatment than what you have to offer, because they actually understand that treatment. And in the self-pay world, understanding is everything. This brings me to my core issue, which is why great clinics struggle while average clinics are staying busy. And I see this all the time. There are clinics that have these fantastic treatments. They're changing lives for the better, but they're talking in terms of technical jargon and clinical terms. They're explaining how the treatment works rather than why someone would need that treatment. Meanwhile, there's a clinic down the road that's offering a less innovative solution, but they're very clear in how they're presenting themselves. They're leading with the problem, they're speaking in plain language, and they're making it very clear as to who should come see them and why. See, most clinics assume that results will speak for themselves, but they actually don't. And here's why. Your potential patients are dealing with a problem: anxiety, ADHD, treatment-resistant depression, lack of mobility, hip issues. And what they're doing is they're looking for a solution that they can actually understand and trust. And when they come across your clinic and you're leading with clinical terminology, treatment protocols, and technical explanations, you're speaking a different language. They actually don't have the context to understand what you are saying. And here's the thing, you're not dumbing down your message. You're trying to explain to someone who doesn't have a medical degree on what this treatment actually is. You are trying to convert clinical value into patient value. So what does clear messaging actually look like? Well, there are 3 questions that you need to answer before your patient seriously considers your treatment. The first one is, what problem does this solve for them? In their words, not in clinical jargon. You don't want to say treatment-resistant depression. You want to say something like, you've tried 3 different antidepressants and you still wake up hopeless. The second is who this is for, and this is where you need to be very specific. You don't want to say anyone with pain. You might want to say something like people who've been dealing with chronic pain for years and they feel like they've tried everything. And the third thing is, why is this different? And this is where I see most clinics get it wrong. They list features like FDA cleared, evidence backed, non-invasive, but it doesn't really mean anything to their audience. Non-invasive could be something like no surgery or no downtime. Evidence-based becomes, this has been proven to work for people just like you. When you answer these questions clearly, people go from, I don't understand this, to, I think this is the right decision for me. You need to stop promoting your service and start educating the market. What I find is that most clinical marketing is very promotional. Great treatment, people love it, book now. But for these high-ticket treatments, you need to inform people and educate them well before they actually book a consultation with you. They need to understand their condition better. They need to weigh out the options that they have available to them. And they also need to understand why certain options would be better than others in specific situations. They essentially need proof that this works for people like them. When you educate first, you build trust. You essentially position yourself as the expert. And when people are ready to move forward with the treatment, they're going to come to you first because you've been helping them all along. This is why content marketing works really well for clinics, is because your blog post can educate people on how certain things work. You might have videos that explain certain conditions that this treatment can help with. And then you have social media posts that offer a little bit more education on the treatment itself. Remember, you're not selling, because nobody likes a salesman anymore. You are educating. And education is what creates that demand. Now, let me show you why this messaging clarity problem is so expensive to ignore. According to recent data from Artisan Growth Strategies from August 2025, healthcare acquisition costs have been increasing by 23% year over year. Look at these numbers. Patient acquisition costs for healthcare clinics are anywhere between $250 all the way to $1,500 depending on the specialty. Even Google Ads costs for healthcare keywords have risen by 34% since 2023. And here's what most clinics are missing. They're often underestimating the acquisition cost by 40 to 60%. Because when you're calculating the full cost, you're not just looking at ad spend. You are also looking at how much time your staff is spending towards lead qualification, no-show follow-ups, and any operational software that you have like a CRM or an EHR. So when you think you're actually spending $500 to acquire a new patient, you might actually be spending anywhere from $800 to $900. Now here's where messaging clarity comes in. If you are not able to clearly explain who it's for, what you do, and why it's beneficial, you are burning through a lot of those acquisition costs without getting any conversion. The data shows that practices that have optimized their messaging and provided patient education find a 45% decrease in patient acquisition costs over 18 months. And there's a simple reason for this. It's because people understand what you do well before they actually contact you. And that increases your conversion rate from the consultation. And that means more people are ready to start because they're pre-educated and pre-qualified. And retention is key because retention costs are anywhere between $35 to $85, which is a lot less than acquisition costs. But they're only going to be there if they understood from day one what you were offering. So when you get that messaging and education right, your acquisition costs drop, your conversion rates increase, your retention rates also increase. Everything gets better downstream because you fixed the problem at the top. So here's what I want you to take away from this. If you're sitting there with a treatment that works great, gets life-changing results for your patients, but you're still not getting enough people, it's probably not a marketing volume problem, it's a message clarity problem. Clinical effectiveness is the foundation, but messaging clarity is what builds the demand in the market. If you watch this and you think that your messaging is what might be holding back your growth, book a free consultation with me. I can definitely give you some insight as to what optimizations that you can make. We focus on building out 3 things for you: education, awareness, and trust. And these are the main pillars that is going to be making sure that your clinic is consistently filled with inquiries and patients. I will see you on the next one.